Sarah, and today I'm going to be doing my February week 3 reading vlog. Crazy month for me. I've been pretty busy. I've been on like really weird schedules. Right now it's the night of Sunday, February 17th, which I went to work today, but I still wanted to start this vlog out because I have the day off tomorrow and the next day, and I'm excited to start this week off with reading. Last week I did a pretty good job. Like I read quite a few books last week, which was surprising. If you missed that vlog, I will link it up in the cards for you guys. It's definitely not one to miss. But as always, I'm going to start with the books that I'm currently reading. So the first book that I'm currently reading is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix Harrow. I am right about there now. I haven't really made a whole lot of progress in the last week on this book because I kind of put it on hold for some of the other books that I was reading, but I'm really excited to continue on with this one. I left off like on an almost like cliffhanger part, which was like the worst possible way to leave off on the book, but I know that because I left off on that part, like I'm super excited to get back to this one. So this one I'm actually planning on making progress on tonight. Like I plan on picking this one up pretty much as soon as I stop filming tonight. So I'm really excited for this one. For those of you who don't know, this story is about a girl named January who is kind of uniquely her own because she has a skin tone that is not exactly fitting in with the society that she has grown up in. And she finds this door when she's really young that goes to this other place. And she also has this journal that is kind of about doors. It's called The 10,000 Doors. It's a great story. I love the writing in this one. Like that's particularly what I love the most is the writing, and I'm really excited to see where this one's going. The other book that I'm still currently reading is The Lady of the Lake by Andrzej Sapkowski. I am right about there. I was trying to finish this book before today because I had to return the audiobook today, and I only have like 100 pages left. There's not that much. I really considered getting the book from Audible, like just getting the audiobook from Audible, because when I put the hold back on the book, it was like, you have to wait 10 weeks. And I was just like, not waiting 10 weeks. But I decided that I'm just going to read the last 100 pages because I don't have any of the other books on Audible. And I feel like if I want the Witcher series on Audible, then I'll just get the entire series. I don't really want just one of the books. So I'm gonna finish the last 100 pages physically. Gonna be a little weird because I've listened to pretty much this entire series on audio, but I'm really loving this last book. Like it's my favorite book in the series so far, and I'm really excited to see how it ends. Like I'm really excited for it. So I feel like I won't have any problems with the last like 100 pages or so. Just like the previous week, last week, like towards the end of the week, I kind of just started a lot of books. So the first one is Shorefall by Robert Jackson Bennett. I am loving it. Like I only read one chapter, mind you, of this book, but it's so good. Like I love the chapter that I read, and I'm really excited to continue on with it. I also finally started my fantasy book series challenge with Shaman's Crossing by Robin Hobb. The first chapter is actually really good. It has a lot of like social commentary just in that first chapter, which I mean, what they were talking about made me really angry, but like in a good way. So I really enjoyed that about it, and I wasn't expecting that like right off the bat from this book. So I really enjoyed that, and I'm excited to see where this one's going as well. Also, I'm still currently reading Words of Radiance by Sanderson. I haven't made a whole lot of progress on it just because I keep getting distracted by all of these other books, but I will make progress on it this week, and hopefully I'll finish this one soon because I'm really enjoying the series, and I'm excited to see where this one's going as well. And lastly, today, after I had to return the audiobook of Lady of the Lake, well, my library automatically returned it. Like I was literally in the middle of listening to it. I get this notification from my library saying that it returned the audiobook, and I was like, what are you talking about? You returned the audiobook? I'm currently listening to it. And then I clicked on the app and the audiobook stopped playing. I should have just left the app closed and the audiobook probably would have continued playing. Anyways, I'm bitter with myself about that. Of course, I had to find a new audiobook to read. I had just gotten the hold for The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I have been very interested in this book because I've heard that this author is really good, and it's like one of those book of the month books, so I know like most of those have pretty high followings. So I've been interested in reading this book for a while. It's been on my radar, and it's written by an author of color. It's the month of February, which is my theme for this month is authors of color, so I felt like it was just like the perfect time to fit this book in, especially since I've had it on hold for like about 6 weeks now. So like I finally got it off of hold and I'm really excited for it. The first chapter is crazy good. Like I listened to the audiobook, I love the first chapter. Like it has a sense of urgency that I don't normally get from books, which was interesting. And I'm excited to see where it's going. It definitely has some magical realism aspects from the very beginning, which I really enjoyed, because I feel like a lot of times when books are described as magical realism, there'll be like one little thing at the very end that is somewhat magical, but this one, like, it was like right off the bat, I felt the magical realism aspects to it, which I enjoyed, and I'm excited to see where this one's going. I really don't know anything about this book, but like I said, it should be interesting. And lastly, my unwrapped book for this week, which I have to read this week in order to keep, is The Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro and Daniel Kraus. So this book is a book that is adapted from a movie, and it's about a girl who falls in love with a fish monster or something like that. I haven't read this book yet, obviously, but I will be starting it soon so that I can give it a chance. So that is all I have for you guys right now, and I will check in with you guys later. So it's Tuesday, February 18th. Yesterday, early on in the day actually, I finished The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi. I really enjoyed this book. The first chapter I really liked, and then it went into kind of a lull, and then there was like a third of the book, like towards the climax section, that I really liked. From like the halfway point to like a quarter of the book more. I really, really loved it. I definitely enjoyed the concept of this book, really enjoyed the writing. I really, really loved the writing. There were times in this book when I was listening to it and I was just kind of like, come on, move on, because it was very much inside the main character's head. And at the same time, even though it was like really inside their heads, I didn't really get as attached to the characters as I wanted to, but it is a very moving book. Like, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I didn't know what it was about going into it, but it's kind of about the Underground Railroad, and I really enjoyed that aspect to it. Like, it was really cool to have a sort of fantasy book, because there are fantasy elements to this book that is set in that time period. I thought it was a really cool addition to the book, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. After that, I made a little bit of progress on Shaman's Crossing by Robin Hobb. I'm on like chapter 5 now. Robin Hobb likes to build out her world and her characters and all of that, and then the end of the last chapter ends on this kind of cliffhanger. I really, really like the cliffhanger that it ended on. So I'm excited to see where this book is going, because I stopped reading it in a very good place, and I'm really excited to get back to it. And then really, really late last night, I finished The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix Harrow, and this book was fantastic. I don't really have any complaints about this book, other than it did take me a while to read it. Like, it took me a good 3 weeks to read this book, which it doesn't normally take me that long to read. It took me that long, partially because this book is a little bit slower paced than I'm used to, but it has some great plot points. I love the characters, like absolutely love the characters in this book. I love the writing in this book. It definitely has a very unique voice, which I really enjoyed. And I love the concept of it. I love the world building. The world building is fantastically done, and I absolutely love that. One thing I got from this book that I don't typically get from books is there's this scene at like the very beginning of the book, which is what really drew me into this book and made me want to continue on and follow with these characters. But there's a scene, because the main character is darker skinned, and it's in 1901. So it's like back when the United States was very, very not culturally sensitive, is probably the best way to put that. January, the girl who's, you know, like no one really knows if she's black or if she's Native American or like what she is, because she doesn't really look like anyone. And she's kind of walking down the street and she's getting these looks from people like, what are you? Like, people can't figure her out. And that's something that I really resonated with a lot, because I was 6 months old when I was brought to the United States. I was born in Trinidad and Tobago. I was 6 months old when I was brought to the United States. While some people can automatically see, oh, she's of Indian heritage, not everyone can. And get a lot of looks and a lot of people asking me, like, you know, what are you basically? I had similar experiences growing up when I was really little. I lived in a very predominantly white neighborhood, and while, yeah, there'd be like 1 or 2 black kids in my class, or an Indian kid or an Asian kid, I didn't really fit in with any of those groups very well. So I would always get those similar stares as January got in that like scene at the very beginning, and it just resonated with me in a way that I've never really resonated fully with the book before. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and I ended up giving this one 4.75 stars. Oh, I forgot. But after I finish the audiobook for The Water Dancer, I need to start a new audiobook, and I've been in kind of like a romancy mood, which is weird because at the beginning of the month I decided that I wasn't gonna make this my romance theme month, and now I kind of want to, so you might start seeing books like that throughout the rest of the week. But anyways, I decided to pick up Pride by Ibi Zoboi. So this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling. It's set in kind of a lower income neighborhood in a predominantly like Black society. It's kind of about the Benitez sisters, who are kind of like the Bennett sisters. Across the street, the Darcy boys move in, and they're very kind of rich. You know how a lot of times retellings are loosely based on the original? No, this one's not loosely based. It's like, it's very obviously a retelling. I really enjoy the voice of this book. Like, the voice of this book is so good. Right now, I don't really enjoy the retelling as much, like the actual plot of it. Like, I don't really see like connections between the characters in the way that I did with, you know, Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice. But I really enjoyed the voice and the atmosphere of this book. It is crazy good, and I love the audiobook narrator. So I'm really enjoying that one right now as well. Okay, so it's still Tuesday. I just finished Pride by Ibi Zoboi. And I have to say, like, I kind of wish that it wasn't so obviously a Pride and Prejudice retelling. I think I would have liked it a little bit more if it wasn't, because like their last names are Benitez and Darcy. Like, I wish they had chosen just other names, especially Darcy, for example. That one has connotations to it that I feel like didn't really work within the context of this story. I did really like it for its own thing though, especially the atmosphere and like the main character. She wasn't a character that I liked necessarily. Like, I felt she was kind of unlikable, but I like unlikable characters, so that kind of worked for me, even though I found her incredibly frustrating and annoying at times. I think it was definitely a fun YA read, but the fact that it was so very much a Pride and Prejudice retelling kind of annoyed me. There are themes in Pride and Prejudice that I feel like this book didn't really address as well as the original. Like, I have to keep comparing it to Pride and Prejudice because of just how obvious it was, while at the same time not giving me the parts of Pride and Prejudice that I was looking for. So I enjoyed it, but it annoyed me at times because of that. So I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It is still a cute, fun YA contemporary romance, and has some great representation in it. So it is a fun book, but there are just parts of it that didn't quite work for me. So it's Tuesday night, and I've made a lot of progress with Shaman's Crossing by Robin Hobb. I'm about halfway through it now, which is a lot in one day. I've been switching between the audiobook and the physical book for this one, like as I've been doing errands throughout the day, and I am really enjoying this right now. So this is about a character named Navarre, who is a second son, and in this world, the second sons of these noble families are these soldier sons. So they're gonna be officers in the military, so he has to go to a military academy in order to, you know, learn and to become an officer, basically. And so we get to see him and like his fellow classmates and stuff like that. And there are some interesting social and political situations that have just really drawn me into the story. I love all the details that Robin Hobb puts in her books, and she just fleshes it out so well that I just feel like I'm like there alongside with this character the entire time. It reminds me a lot, like a lot of Assassin's Apprentice, which is one of my least favorite Robin Hobb books, but at the same time, like, I have nostalgic feelings towards Assassin's Apprentice, and this one is just feeling all of those nostalgic feelings for me. So while I don't think this is gonna be a 5-star book for me, I am really enjoying that atmosphere that this book is bringing to me, and I'm really enjoying it so far. But tonight, I decided to start Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, and holy crap, this book is so freaking good. I absolutely love it. So this is a male new adult romance novel, and it's written kind of like a rom-com. Like, it's super funny. So it's about the first son of the United States who has an arch nemesis who happens to be the Prince of Wales, And of course, they're also really attracted to each other. This book is hilarious. It is so great. I absolutely love it. And I'm excited to see where this goes politically because it's a very interesting setup. I love the setup of this book, and I love like the way that it's written. It's written like a movie. Like I feel like I'm watching a movie while I'm reading this book. And at the same time, like it's really funny. Like I love how funny it is. Like it had me laughing out loud multiple times in this book. And usually when books are trying to be funny, I either really like get the humor and really like it like I do with this one, or I don't think it's funny and I really hate the book because of it. But luckily I love the humor in this one, and I could really root for the romance in this one as well. So I'm really, really loving this. Like I wanted to read a good romance in the month of February, and this one is just filling all of those categories for me. So I'm really, really excited to continue on with this one. I've actually made quite a bit of progress with this one as well. I'm like right about there now. So I read like a third of this book in like one sitting, and I'm probably gonna continue on later tonight as I'm going to sleep. So yeah, really enjoying this one and really, really excited to see where it's going. So it's Wednesday, February 19th. Last night I woke up way too late last night reading Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I ended up finishing this because it is fantastic. It is so fast paced and I loved every second of it. I talked a little bit about this yesterday, so there's not that much more to say other than I absolutely love this. Definitely one of the best romances that I've read, and I really, really enjoyed it. Like, really, really enjoyed it. I liked how political it got. I mean, I knew it was gonna get political because, I mean, the entire concept of this book is very political, but I liked that the politics were still a significant part of the story, even though it was very much a romance, and it's a new adult romance, so you know what that means. But I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed this book. It was one of the fastest reads that I've had all month. Like I feel like I was almost in a reading slump until I got to this book. Not quite, I wasn't quite in a reading slump, but I was kind of getting there. And this one, definitely, like, I could not stop reading. So I really enjoyed this, and I ended up giving it 5 stars. So it is Thursday, February 20th, and last night I finished Shaman's Crossing by Robin Hobb. I didn't expect to finish this yesterday. I just got super into the story and just didn't stop reading. I don't know what it is about Robin Hobb's writing, but I really love her writing. It's kind of weird because it doesn't have that typical, you know, high fantasy feel to it that you would expect. It has more of a real feel to it. Like it feels like almost like day in the life sort of books, except there are fantasy elements to it, which I love, and it's set in like high fantasy worlds, which again, I also really love. I was also getting like Name of the Wind type of vibes from this book because, I mean, it's set in an academy. It kind of does the same thing that Name of the Wind does, where you kind of get to know all of the main characters, like friends in the academy and kind of things that happen with them and stuff like that. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. I was slightly disappointed. Character Navarre, his voice is very, very similar to Fitz Chivalry from the Realm of the Elderling series. It almost feels like it's the same character, even though it's kind of a completely different situation because Fitz Chivalry Farseer is a royal bastard who is trained to be an assassin. In this one, Navarre, the main character, is the second son of a second son, which means he is going to be a soldier son and he's going to a military academy to become an officer. So like it's a completely different situation, completely different world, but somehow it's the same voice. And I know that's the author's voice that we're getting in there, but I was a little disappointed by that because I felt like Robin Hobb did such a good job in some of her later novels, especially like in The Liveship Traders and in the Rainwall Chronicles, to have different voices for the characters, that the fact that this voice is so similar to basically the main character of her other series kind of disappointed me a little bit because I wanted it to feel like a different voice. And I realized this is one of her older series. It's not one of her newer ones, but still. Anyways, I did really, really enjoy it though. Like I didn't expect to finish this book so quickly, but I did, and I really enjoyed it. And I ended up giving it 4.25 stars. I think this is the first book for my fantasy book series challenge so far that I've given above 4 stars. Mind you, there's only been 2 other books, so I don't know if that's a good thing or not. Like I feel like I should have started liking these books before that, but I'm really excited to continue on with the series. Like yesterday when I finished this one, I was listening to the audiobook at the time because I was switching between the audio and the physical book. So I had to pick up a new audiobook, and I just wanted to pick up Forest Mage, which is the next book in the series, which hasn't happened yet with my fantasy book series challenge, where I was just like really compelled to start the next book right away. I don't have the audiobook for that one. I do have the physical book, but I wasn't planning on picking up physical books. I was really excited to pick up the next book in the series. Like, I'm still really excited to pick up the next book in the series. I don't know if I'm gonna do it this month or if I'm gonna wait till next month or what's gonna happen, but right now I'm enjoying this and I'm excited to see where the series is gonna go. And like I mentioned, I had to pick up a new audiobook, so I finally decided to pick up The Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro. This is the unwrapped book that I have for these last 2 weeks, which I haven't started yet, and I need to finish it by Saturday if I want to keep it. So I started the audiobook for it. I immediately was turned off by the audiobook, like I didn't want to read it. That was yesterday. I was just kind of like, oh, I kind of don't want to read this. I think that's more of book hangover from Shaman's Crossing than anything to do with The Shape of Water, because I picked up The Shape of Water this morning and I was enjoying the audiobook. So we'll see how that goes. So far, I haven't gotten very far into it though, like only a couple of chapters, but hopefully I'll end up liking this one. And lastly, if you've been following my channel for, more than 6 months or so, you might remember that I started a reread of the Wheel of Time series last year. I do these audiobook rereads of some of my favorite series at night while I'm trying to fall asleep because I have a hard time falling asleep, and I like to listen not to my current audiobook while I'm falling asleep, but to a reread of one of my favorites, because like when it's my current audiobook, I have a harder time when I wake up in the morning going back and figuring out where I fell asleep. But with one of my favorites, I kind of remember what happened and I know the story well enough that I can go back and find the part that I fell asleep in easier. So back in I want to say October or whatever, I started The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan. This is the 4th book in the Wheel of Time series. I reread the first 3 books this way last year. And mind you, it's only like half an hour at night, so it's not a long time, and this is a 40-hour audiobook. So I didn't expect to finish this one in like a month or whatever. But I did expect it to be less than 6 months, It did take like 4 months for me to finish this book. Mind you, also my December rereads fell while I was doing this as well. So my December rereads I would have read at night as well. So that's why this one took a little bit longer than I had expected it to. I really enjoyed this book. Like, I really, really enjoyed this book. This book reminded me of why and how much I love the Wheel of Time series. Like, I absolutely loved this book so much. I loved, of course, the world building in this book is so good. I love in the Wheel of Time series in general, the world building is amazing. I really love the ending of this book. Like, I forgot how hardcore Rand can be at times. Like, Rand is the main character in this series basically, and I forgot like how hardcore his personality gets, especially like towards the end of the series, and like you start seeing it a little bit in this book, and I really love that, especially towards the end of this book. So good. Really, really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving this one 5 stars. And because I finally finished The Shadow Rising, I decided to start The Fires of Heaven last night. I read the first chapter, not a whole lot. I don't really have much to say about this one other than it's the 5th book in the Wheel of Time series, which I love. It's a series that really got me into adult high fantasy, and I absolutely love it, and I'm really excited to continue on with my really, really slow reread of this series. So it's Saturday, February 22nd. Last night I made some progress on Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. I haven't been making a lot of progress on this one. I'm like really close to the beginning still, but this is going to be like one of my main books that I'm reading next week, which I'm really excited for because I really, really enjoyed the little bit of progress that I made last night. Mind you, I worked yesterday, so like I didn't have that much time to read, but I really, really enjoyed it so far. My main focus for the second half of this week was The Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro. I have about 20 minutes left in the audiobook, and I'm probably going to finish this like within the next hour or so, but I have to work today, so I have to go ahead and edit this video so that I can get it up for you guys. So I'm probably not going to finish it before I get this video uploaded for you guys. But I have to say, I'm not enjoying this book as much as I wanted to. I feel like I would have DNF'd this book by now if it hadn't been one of my unwrapped books and if I didn't have the audiobook for this one. Like, if I was trying to read this book physically, I would have definitely DNF'd this book by now. But because I read audiobooks a lot faster and a lot easier than I read physical books, I'm still reading it. I like the idea of this. Actually, honestly, I don't even like the idea of it. I like some of the things that the author put into this. Has some great representation in it, kind of historical fiction, because it's set in a time period that is really interesting towards what the characters are. I like the idea of the characters. I don't really necessarily like the execution of the characters. And like one of the main themes here is that love is kind of deeper than words, sort of, because the main character is a mute and she falls in love with a fish monster. He's not a monster. He's a fish man or whatever who, can't talk. So they learn to love each other through sign language, which reminded me a little bit of Into the Drowning Deep. Into the Drowning Deep is horror, so it's not about love at all, but they do talk to mermaids using sign language in Into the Drowning Deep. So that reminded me, it gave me like feelings of that, but I felt like I wanted to feel the emotions in this story, and I just didn't. Like, I felt nothing while reading this book the entire time. So right now I'm leaning towards somewhere in the 3-star range, but you'll have to wait till next week to find out what I actually rated it. Or you can just check my Goodreads because it'll be up there soon. So since it's the end of the week, I'm just gonna do a quick summary of all the books that I read this week. So this week, I finished 6 books, 4 books that I own and then 2 that I borrowed from the library. In no particular order, first we're gonna talk about the 2 that I borrowed from the library. The first one was The Water Dancer by Ta-Nehisi, which I really enjoyed. I really, really enjoyed The Water Dancer. It's historical fiction with fantasy elements. I think it's considered a fantasy book. It's kind of fantasy also. I consider it historical fiction. It's set in America and it's about the Underground Railroad. Basically, there was a group of people that was shipping black slaves from the South to the North because slavery was illegal in the North, but it was legal in the South. So it was very, very well done. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And I felt like the fantasy aspects actually worked really well with the story. So I enjoyed that as well. And I ended up giving that one 4.5 stars. The other audiobook that I borrowed from the library was Pride by Ibi Zoboi, which is a Pride and Prejudice retelling that's set in Brooklyn, New York, which I enjoyed. The things that are unique about this book, I really loved. Like the voice of this book, the main character is Haitian and Dominican, and she's black, and she's from, let's just say, a lower income neighborhood. She calls it the hood. I feel bad calling it that. I love her personality and her attitude. When I say I love that, I found her very annoying, but I liked it in an unlikable way, if you know what I mean. Like, I liked that she had a very distinct personality and attitude. When it comes to the story itself, I didn't care that much for the story. I felt like there were a lot of things in Pride and Prejudice specifically that this one didn't really do Pride and Prejudice the justice for that. And I think I would have liked Pride, the book Pride, which is the retelling, a lot better if it wasn't so obviously a Pride and Prejudice retelling. If their names weren't like almost the same, like Darcy, for example. The Darcy family is the same as, you know, Darcy from Pride and Prejudice. So it was kind of like, it's super obvious that it's the same names, but at the same time, I felt like it didn't really do the retelling as much justice as I wanted it to, so I ended up giving that one 3.5 stars. Next, I finally finished The 10,000 Doors of January by Alix Harrow. I absolutely love this book. So this book is about a character named January who finds this door to another world, and she also has this journal in which is telling this story. And what I really loved about this book, one, it's portal fantasy, which, I mean, I love portal fantasy. It's just one of the things that I just love in books. So it kind of felt like this book was almost written for me because I love the portal fantasy. I love the diversity in this book. Like, I really resonated with the main character in a way that, which I don't often resonate with main characters. And I really, really loved the writing in this one. It has very like lush descriptions and images, and it has a very interesting voice, and I really love that about this book. And I ended up giving it 4.75 stars. I also finished Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. So this is a male-male new adult romance between the first son of the United States and the Prince of Wales, which is fantastic, and I absolutely love that. I also really love like the political climate here. Like, I wanted this to be reality. Like, that's what I wanted. Like, and I love that a romance novel can incorporate politics the way that it did, because I love politics in books, like not just high fantasy books, because I mean, obviously I read a lot of high fantasy that are very political driven. Pretty much any books, if it incorporates social and political issues, I'm gonna love it, especially if it's done in a complex way that feels real. And this one did that, which I absolutely loved. And I read this in like one sitting. Like, I woke up way too late reading this book just because I was just so into the story while I was reading it. So I ended up giving this one 5 stars. I also finished Shaman's Crossing by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the Soldier Sun trilogy, and it's one of my books from my fantasy book series challenge. I surprisingly really like this book. Like, I don't know why I didn't expect to like this book, because I love Robin Hobb, but I've heard not as much good things about her Soldier Sun trilogy as I did about The Realm of the Elderlings, which I read The Realm of the Elderlings and I loved it. And I don't think this is up to the same like caliber as some of those books are, but I did really enjoy this, and I felt really attached to the main character the entire time. I think part of it was just me like loving Robin Hobb's writing style. And I ended up giving this one 4.25 stars. I do plan on continuing on with this series very soon. Like, maybe not this month, but probably really early on next month. And I'm pretty excited for it. And lastly, I finally finished my reread of The Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan. So I've been reading this since like October. but I really enjoyed it. Like, the Wheel of Time series is one of my favorite series of all times, and of course I gave this one 5 stars because it's amazing. And of course I'll be continuing on with my very slow reread of this series. It's fantastic. By the way, if you haven't picked up the Wheel of Time series and you like adult high fantasy, highly, highly recommend. Really great. Okay, so I was editing this video and iMovie crashed on me. So this video is not going to be uploaded in time for you guys, which I apologize for. That is the second upload that I missed this week. I'm going to blame it on work. It's not entirely work's fault, but I'm going to blame it on how busy I am at work right now. So I did finish The Shape of Water just now, and the ending didn't really change very much how I felt about this book. So everything that I said before, I still feel about this book. So I ended up giving it 3.25 stars. So hopefully when I get home tonight, iMovie will start working again and I can have this video out for you guys on Sunday. I apologize. With my schedule right now, it's been crazy, and sometimes computers don't really work for you as you want them to. So that is all I have for you guys today. If you read any of these books, let me know down in the comments because I would love to discuss with you guys. I post videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, so consider subscribing. I also post bonus videos, so if you want to be notified as soon as I upload, you can click that little bell icon. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up to support my channel. All social media links are in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.